It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The Nimble with Numbers team presents Chalked Blocked with Bo Big Time McBrayer.
I gotta know what a $5 shake tastes like.
That's hot. That's hot.
I want winning, folks. You don't know diddly.
And his partner, Scott Stag Simpson.
Do you know who I am?
Trying to put Tiger Bomb on this jungle's nuts.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
I gotta catch a glimpse of these warlocks. Let's make a move. Let's make a move. Let's make a move.
Hey, you guys. Welcome back to Chalk Blocked on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, now part of iRadio USA. I'm Bo McBigtime. That's Scotty Stacks. You know him well. Down below me is the mathematician, Jordan Vanek 1. He's a Twitter guy now. I like that. Look at this handsome devil in the bottom left corner. My goodness, how did we get Dave Kluge on here? This is everyone's favorite pod host. Everyone has a favorite pod host, and it better be this guy. He hosts our Friday show with Steffi Smiles. We saw it earlier today. Check out the replay. He hosts 2 Point Stance with Stepmom Lauren, one of the coolest people out there. And now he's got a new show that he's just going rogue on. He's inviting 2 people at a time because he's flying solo so much. It's called The Launchpad nonetheless. This guy is awesome. He's handsome. He's got the best spouse in the world because she cooks and bakes and puts all kinds of crusty, gooey, buttery goodness on Twitter for us. And he is part of the Football Guys. He's a writer for Fantasy Pros. And I don't know how he's not fatter than me. I really don't. This is Dave. Don't call me David and get a Kluge.
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks a lot for having me on, guys. And I feel like I don't even need to introduce myself. I mean, that was the best introduction I've ever gotten. You hit absolutely everything. So thank you for that, Bo.
How are you not fatter than me?
A lot of hiking, and honestly, I don't eat that much pie. We used to eat pie all the time, and it's something that, after eating pie all the time for a few years, it just loses its luster a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I still love pie, but I used to just sit there with a fork out of the pan. I wouldn't even cut up slices. I would just be eating it straight out of the pan. And now, it's a piece every now and then.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing where half the dishes in your kitchen are probably pie tins, and so you don't really have to wash them. You just I'm just gonna scrape out the last couple crumbs and chuck it.
Pretty much.
I mean, it says here you're a Bears fan, and a lot of the Bears fans I know, they didn't really come out from under their little cave rocks until the Fields pick. Is that the case with you, where you're kind of laying in the shadows, wallowing in the Andy Dalton reddish glow coming from the Illinois area? Is that the case with you? Did you finally just come out and glare at the light once the Fields pick happened?
No, sir. I have worn this fandom proudly my entire life, through thick and through thin. I am a ride or die Bears fan. I've been there. And I mean, I say through thick and thin, but really it's all been pretty thin. I mean, there hasn't been too much to get excited about. We kind of stumbled backwards into a Super Bowl when I was in high school, which was awesome. But I mean, that team, you look at it, it was Rex Grossman at quarterback. That team had no business making it into the Super Bowl. They just kind of ended up there. But getting Fields has been just exactly what this team needed. It just injected all sorts of energy and excitement into a fan base that has just been absolutely destitute for so long. So I'm thrilled. But then, once that wore off, it's I was hoping that honeymoon phase was just going to last all off season, and it didn't. It lasted all of about 48 minutes, and then I started having flashbacks to Cade McNown and Rex Grossman and Jay Cutler and Mitch Trubisky and every quarterback that has just seemingly come into Soldier
Jim Miller.
Yeah, I mean, the list goes on. But they all – oh, my God. I tried to make it easy. I just talked about the 4 big ones, but you want to go deep and talk about all of them. Yes, they've all regressed terribly in Soldier.
Well, you guys haven't had a good quarterback since Sid Luckman, so it's been a wild ride.
I mean, I think that we had a good quarterback in Jay Cutler, and then the Bears franchise, the media, the fan base, whatever you want to call it, they just absolutely destroyed Jay Cutler. 4,700 yards and a Pro Bowl appearance at 24 years old before he came to Chicago. How did we ruin that? Like, how did we manage to ruin Jay Cutler? But hey,
I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette. Just thinking about the Bears, man. I haven't smoked in like 10 years, and I'm just like getting itching for a cigarette, man. So
Smoking Jay.
Yeah, you know what? my wife would love that just as much as Pete Overzet's wife loves when he goes into the man's character and decides to, go rogue on his
high tea.
Man. Yeah, I'm not that high tea. What did you think though of? And I really did like the pick of Justin Fields. I had him as like my third best rated quarterback. And so I like that pick. I think it was a great pick for Chicago. What did you think about Tevin Jenkins, though, slipping down into the second round? I almost like that more, knowing how nasty he is as a lineman. What do you think about that?
Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I am a fantasy sports guy, so I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend like I was scouting offensive linemen prior to the draft because I'm worried about the skill position players. But what I will say is I saw Tevin Jenkins get picked, and I knew that we had a huge need at offensive line. So I did what any Bears fan would do and went to YouTube and looked up Tevin Jenkins highlights, and my jaw just about hit the floor. He is a bad, bad man. I mean, that looks like I don't even know. He's like Jabba the Hutt, but he's got light feet and he can run around and just pancake people. So I'm thrilled. That's exactly what this.
That's the guy you want to volunteer to step in front of you if Aaron Donald wants to fight you. You're like, hey, Tevin.
Yes. No, he looks like an absolute beast. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a name that I really knew before the draft, but from what I've seen since we've drafted him, I'm extremely excited because that was probably one of the biggest soft spots for the Bears was their interior line. So getting to beef that up a little bit is fantastic.
Jordan is himself as an offensive line enthusiast, so I want to hear what he has to say about Tevin.
Well, for starters, Dave, I'm glad our teams could high five and do a cool trade so you guys can get your guy. That was a fun trade back. I got Terrace Marshall out of it. Oh wait, we're this way, but. So the that violent video, the Tevin Jenkins, the guy on YouTube, he tweeted out, he's like, man, I love Bears fans because he got like 1 million, 2 million views on this video now. That's just hilarious. But I love the Tevin Jenkins pick. It's scary what that dude's going to have to do because he's going to be the anchor and all eyes are on him. It's Justin Fields is back there and like, I'm scared of that O-line. I mean, the Charles Leno cut, I understand from the money perspective, but it's like, this dude was solid. That I feel bad. Like you guys got your most talented quarterback you've ever had, but you're now putting him in a situation with an unhappy number one wide receiver and an offensive line that's scary. Like I'm not happy with it. Like I'm hoping.
Is Allen Robinson still unhappy? I think Allen Robinson was unhappy because of the quarterback situation. I haven't heard any news since, but you've got to expect that he's got a little, like, there's got to be some sort of uplift in his spirits after they drafted Justin Fields.
I just think it's the money. I think Allen Robinson wants to get paid, and it's just weird that you guys haven't paid him. Like, I don't know what this man has to do.
An extension.
And you know what made it even worse is like they didn't want to pay Allen Robinson, and while they're going through these contract disputes with Allen Robinson, then they bring in free agent Kenny Galladay, and they take him out for a dinner, and they're trying to wine and dine Kenny Galladay, and it's like you've got this guy who's done nothing but produce for years. Yeah, and they wanted to pay Kenny Galladay that money while ignoring the fact that Allen Robinson was sitting there with his hands out, like, please, like I want to get paid and stay here. It was mind-numbing to me.
Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, and Bo and I even lambasted. I wrote Ryan Pace up in a little GM monologue. He wrote Gettleman, and so that was fun. Yeah, it was fun. We got in the mind. Overall, I gotta say I was impressed with Ryan Pace and what he did in some of those moves he made. Honestly, I thought he was on the hot seat in Chicago. Some of the things that he'd been doing lately, they weren't great, particularly in the last draft the last couple of drafts that they've had. So I love seeing just upgrades when I've been critical. I can be wrong. I think that was a really good 1-2 punch to start the draft off for the Bears. And so I want to see fantasy purposes what it's going to do. So we're not trying to put any projections out here, but we can go around the table, maybe start with Bo. Where do we see Justin Fields this year? Where do we see his abilities kind of being used by the Bears?
Well, hopefully the coaching staff notices that He's a lot more dynamic than Andy Dalton. He's more talented than Andy Dalton. He's a stronger arm, more accurate arm. He's more mobile. He has more pocket presence. He's smarter as a passer than Andy Dalton ever has been. And he hasn't even played a single professional snap yet, and he's already better in every single category as a quarterback than Andy Dalton. So you can't throw out a tweet that he's QB1 and then draft a guy who's markedly better in every single facet of the game and not start the guy. If they start Dalton for more than 3 or 4 games, there's going to be burning buildings, burning cars, like people in the streets are going to be unhappy, and all those clever draft picks, like the first good draft, like you said, the Bears have had in years, and the people are going to get antsy. You're going to have a lot of pressure on the front office to move him along faster. And if they do put Justin Fields on the field at Soldier Field, he's going to put up gigantic numbers because, I mean, look at the defenses in that division. Look at the schedule they kind of opened up last year. It's not going to be too dissimilar. They don't get the AFC South again, but it's not going to be a tough schedule either this year. So give me all the Justin Fields. I think he'll still be the rookie QB2 this season behind Trevor Lawrence.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But let's go to Jordan because I want to save the final word from Mr. Chicago himself. So, Jordan, what do you think?
So I think Ryan Pace definitely just saved his job, and it's one of those big moves for him. The thing is like everybody gives credit to the Tampa Bay GM, but this is the same guy that drafted Roberto Aguayo in the 3rd round or 2nd round. I'm not sure which round exactly. like I know that Ryan Pace did the Trubisky trade, and it's absolutely awful. But now we're going to see whether or not Matt Nagy is a good OC because he's got a quarterback who can make all the throws in every part of the field. And I may not be the biggest fan of him, but now he's got the ability to do what he wants to do with an offense. He's got a quarterback that's smart. I'm hoping Fields gets brought in at the right time, whether that's week 1 or week 5 or 6. Doesn't matter to me. I don't want him to be thrown into the fire because there's absolutely no reason. Like, this team just wants a quarterback that's dynamic. They just want fun. They want to have a good time because they know they're not winning a Super Bowl next year. They're just trying to see if they're going in the right direction.
No, I mean, I like it.
So,
Jordan,
I want you to ask Dave how many games Matt Nagy has actually called plays in his entire coaching career.
Dave, how many times has Matt Nagy called plays?
My guess, I think it's probably between 38 and 40 would be my guess. I know he's coached 48 games for the Bears now, and he took off the second half of last season, but I believe he called plays for the first 2 years and the first half of last year. So it's got to be around 30. Or I'm sorry, around 40. Do you know?
Right. I thought it was less than that.
No, I know that Bill Lazor took over last year.
Yeah, Bill Lazor took over midway through the year last year. The first time that he took over was that Monday night game against the Vikings, and that was arguably the worst called game of the season. And then Bill Lazor kind of, the next week he stepped it up a little bit and started implementing a more run-heavy approach, which worked for the Bears, and they started winning some games. I don't know. I feel like Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace both get a very unfair shake, if I'm being honest. There are 2 terrible draft picks that Ryan Pace has made. And everyone talks about Mitch Trubisky being the worst, but I personally think that Kevin White at 7th overall was even a worse pick than Mitch Trubisky. We at least got 4 starting years out of Mitch Trubisky, went to the playoffs twice with him. It wasn't great, but he was good enough to win some games and go 28-20, but that Kevin White one was just absolutely terrible. But when you look at what he's done in the late rounds, he's found a lot of really good talent late in the drafts, and he's made some aggressive moves in free agency to fulfill needs that we have. So really, I don't think that Ryan Pace really deserves to be on the hot seat. I feel like when you're in Chicago, in one of these huge markets, you're just, everything that you do is under a microscope, and then you have a huge, rampant fan base that is just very impatient, and they just want to win right now. And that's not how it works in the NFL. It takes time to build a team, and I think that Ryan Pace is doing the right thing. And then for Matt Nagy, I know, he's another guy that just gets ragged on all the time, and he's made some bad plays or some bad decisions as well. But it's not that I think he's a bad coach overall. I think when it comes down to clock management and play calling, he's made some head-scratching moves. But I do like his offense, and you would see it a lot over the last few years where players would be wide open, but Mitch Trubisky would try to force the ball to somebody that he should have been looking at. Or Darnell Mooney would blow the top off the defense, be wide open, and then couldn't get hit. So I think that if we have a quarterback that can hit those throws, I think all of a sudden Matt Nagy is going to start looking like a very formidable coach. I feel like Mitch Trubisky is what was holding him back from being the quote-unquote offensive mastermind that he claims to be.
Yeah, and the guy missing Mooney all year was Nick Foles. Like, it was ugly. Like, you'd see Mooney would be open by like 5 yards, nobody around him, and Nick Foles would miss him by 8 yards.
Well, you know what? Yeah, and I don't know if Andy Dalton was any better.
I love that tweet.
So I had to pull this tweet up. Dave, this was like one of the best all-time tweets in fantasy football history that I saw. And as soon as I saw it, I was just like, oh, my gosh, I love it. For those who are listening and not watching, it is, Woody's character from Toy Story getting painted over with the brush. Andy's name is being painted off of the bottom of his shoe. It is perfect. Andy Dalton out. What did you think about Andy Dalton kind of coming in and then all of a sudden being a backup in a mentor role?
Well, it didn't shock me at all. I actually tweeted right before the draft. I said, hey, everybody is saying that Andy Dalton's going to be the week 1 starter, but I wouldn't be so sure about that because just 4 years ago in 2017, the Bears went out and they gave Mike Glennon a 3-year, $45 million contract, and everyone said, oh, cool, Mike Glennon, he's going to be the quarterback for the Bears for the next 3 years. And then a month later, they traded up in the draft and drafted Mitch Trubisky. Fast forward 4 years, they go out and they give Andy Dalton a contract, and everyone says, cool, Andy Dalton's our quarterback. Draft night comes, trade up, draft a quarterback. So, I mean, the writing was on the wall. Like, anybody that's been a Bears fan should have expected this to happen. It's exactly what they did in 2017. So, personally, I don't want them to see the same mistake that they did in 2017, though, which is roll out the veteran quarterback and then give in to the fan and the media pressure if you get off to a slow start. I feel like they need to have a very sound plan for what they're going to do. If Justin Fields comes into camp and just takes over Russell Wilson style, and everyone says, wow, this guy can flick the ball, put him in week 1 and let him do his thing if he's earned the job. If he hasn't, then sit him for either the full year or maybe put him in the last few weeks if it's a lost season. But I don't want to see them do what they did with Mitch Trubisky. And that was, start the season with Mike Glennon. And then after a few rough games from Mike Glennon, Mitch Trubisky was not in a position to start. And it was in the fourth quarter of a loss that Mitch Trubisky got his first time playing for the Bears. They pushed him out there, and that's not how you want to start a game. I want Justin Fields' first time, playing quarterback for the Bears to be where he can come out of the tunnel. He can get the team amped up. He can take on that leadership role and own every second of the game from kickoff until the final second. I don't want him going in and playing cleanup in a lost season or in a blowout game. That's how regression happens. And my biggest fear is that Matt Nagy is going to crack once again and do that with Justin Fields and just, start the same thing that we have just seen over and over and over again as Bears fans.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. And you've seen it over and over again for coaches. When they have that nice, shiny new toy, they jump the gun. They cannot control themselves. Dwayne Haskins was the same here in Washington. You heard the coaches say, listen, we're going to give him time. We're not going to make it so that he gets put under pressure. He only had 1 year at Ohio State. Week 5 comes along, they're like, your turn, go die. Ha, goodbye. And so that was the end of Dwayne Haskins. And then there was strippers. And then, fast forward, and he is a backup now on the Steelers, so much so that they're like, Big Ben, please don't retire, bro. Come on, man. Come on. We will draft you running back, man. We will draft you a nice running back. So, it is a real thing. And I hope that what you said goes exactly according to plan. I would say I'd come out from day 1 in camp and go, this is our guy. This is the guy we want. He's got the talent. He might not know everything yet, but we're going to get him there, and we're going to have him be our guy from the start to the finish. I think that's just the best way to go about it myself. I don't like that wait year personally, but if they do that wait year, I'm okay with it. I think that's the second best option compared to, like you said, just throwing him in there when it's a ideal situation. Crush.
Can I jump in and disagree with both of you?
No.
Some of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen got thrown into the fire. And
Tom Brady, and Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert found out he was playing 33 minutes before kickoff during the national anthem. Tyrod Taylor got a syringe through his lung, and Herbert's like, hey, I guess I'm going to play now. And the dude didn't have a game plan installed. He didn't have anything installed for him. Guy goes out, throws 3 touchdown passes, and almost beats the defending world champs. And so I think if he does get thrown in, Fields can show himself to be special. If he is truly special, is he can be trial by fire. If he's good enough, he'll rise above it.
I've heard that from a lot of people. Like my friends that are Ohio State fans and know Justin Fields a lot better than I am. That's what they've said, that he has that character, that work ethic, and that chip on his shoulder, that he will be able to just take over and turn the franchise around, a la, Deshaun Watson in the Houston Texans. So,
Tony Romo came in the same way. Tony Romo came in the same way, and that's one of the highest QBRs in NFL history.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing I like, though, that Dave is kind of alluding to. It's the ownership of the team. And we forget, though, when we just kind of plug and play, do fantasy, watch the game, show up. This is a dynamic that is building, especially a leadership dynamic. The quarterback is the leader of your offense. They need to be the one who knows the most information. Maybe you're a rookie, you don't know everything, but you need to be the front of that spear, the tip of the spear. So leading stem to stern really does bring the whole team together and rally around him. I think, like you said, though, he has to be in a position to be successful in training camp. And if he's, overthrowing wide receivers, doesn't know the playbook, is ineffective, then it doesn't behoove them to put him out there. But I think I agree with Bo. I do think he will rise above, and hopefully they just start him from the beginning and he just crushes from the break. Because that's what this show's been doing. I
think if Justin Fields is worth it, you could throw him in the second quarter, like after Andy gets his hair messed up or something, and like down by 21, and him lead an epic comeback win, and then never look back. If he's truly that good, then throw him in any situation. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
You're getting me excited. Getting me really excited, Bo. I feel like
football.
I mean, it has been a pendulum ever since NFL draft. Like, obviously, you guys saw it. You all follow me on Twitter. I don't think I've ever been more excited than I was on draft night. I was just tweet after tweet, just going insane that we got our guy, and then a few days later, it kind of sizzled down, and I was like, wait, I've done this before. Like, I convinced myself that Mitch Trubisky was going to be the guy, and I convinced myself that Jay Cutler was going to be the guy. And then I started kind of just like wallowing and just shrinking and like, here we are again. And then I talked to some people that are like, no, Justin Fields, he's the guy that can step up. So it's been a nonstop. I don't know how to feel. Can it be September already, man? I just got to see this guy on the field and see what he can do.
You know what you are known for, Dave? Is I watched a lot of your shows. I mean, we've been interacted a lot on Twitter. I watched a lot of your shows. I'm sure you've watched at least 1 or 2 of my shows. But one thing I've noticed about you is that you pay attention, you take notes, and you know how to sleuth things out about the people that come on your shows. Like, I don't know how you dig up some of the little factoids. Like, it's like unmined data. You're like finding blockchain.
Is he Sean Evans? Is he the Sean Evans of the fantasy world?
He
Sean
might
Evans?
Be better than Sean Evans.
Whoa,
like, we're talking Sherlock Holmes of fantasy football circle. He's he'll read your face and tell you what your favorite color is, basically. So have you done any research and sleuthing to anybody on this show to prepare?
I have not. You guys are all pretty good friends of mine. I feel like I know you somewhat well already. Like, I've talked to all of you guys a lot, and I know you personally. And that's why when I go into these shows, a lot of the times when I'm having guests on, they're people that I have no interaction with, no history with it ever. And I creep. I really do. And thank you for saying Sean Evans, because I absolutely love Hot Ones, and I feel like I get a lot of my flair and style from watching. I love it. I think Sean Evans is awesome.
Bo, big time, bad Bo. Love Sean Evans.
I love Sean Evans, but Hot Ones is so overrated. I mean, I'm a hot sauce guy. How can I be a person of that industry and not look at it from a different angle, a different lens? I'm looking through a different lens where I've tried a lot of those hot sauces, and I know mine is better. So what am I going to do? They're going to hype it up. They're going to charge $25 for a bottle of hot sauce just from hype, and it's inferior.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to say
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Seth. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just going to say, but this is the key. Bose is better than all of those, right? But what's so cool about Sean Evans is that he does what you said Dave does, is he deep dives into the people that he interviews. He gets to know them. He gets to care about them, and he makes a real good connection and a bond and builds relationships. So I think in that sense, I would say that's how, Dave kind of reminds me of Sean in that. But I would say also the wings need a lot of work. I remember I watched an old episode recently, and this is from like season 1 or 2, and the guest was eating them. They're like, these are terrible. These are the worst things I've ever had. and Sean was like, actually, these are probably the best we've ever made. They're better now, I know, but like even that about them is like, the sauces, some of them taste like your elbow, and so Bo, your sauces, I just want to say, better sauce.
It is. I've actually gotten some of the sauces from Hot Ones, and none of them come close to what you got. The stuff that you make is unbelievable. But to go back really quickly, so Sean Evans, obviously love him, and he does that where he pulls up these like random little factoids. And then another guy that I've watched a lot, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Nardwar. He is an interviewer that interviews rappers, and he just like digs really deep, and you see it all the time. And when he asks questions, and he'll pull out these little factoids, and you see that it instantly, the person that's getting interviewed becomes so engaged when they're like, wow, like that's something I haven't heard in a long time. And it's something that really just jumped out to me. And then you'd see the same thing on Hot Ones with Sean Evans. So I said, I want to bring this to my show. And what I do on that, and it's not every show I do, but on the show that I do with on Fridays with Steph, we always have, big guests on there. So it usually starts with Google, and then it just kind of spider webs out from there. But I've done everything from, we had Thor Nystrom on a while ago, and I found a journal entry that he had written that was publicized when he was a freshman in college that I was able to find, and we were able to talk about it on the show. And he's like, after the show, he's like, I've done hundreds of shows. You were the first person that ever found that and talked about it. And it's a really cool way for the guests to get engaged. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in.
No, that's awesome.
You should.
Well, it's cool because, Bo watches other people's shows, and then he evaluates what is effective. He's like, I love that. That's a great thing. So, we're watching and we're seeing all those amazing things, and we love it, man. And everybody does love Dave, by the way. I think Bo was right. Now I'm going to say it. We've been hedging it for a long time. I want to officially say it. This is the world's sexiest DFS show now. We've been saying for now. We've been saying for now. We've been prefacing it with this is the world's sexiest DFS show for now. But we're saying now it is the world's sexiest because Dave is on. It is official right now. I know, right, meow meow. And this is also a great time to plug and do a little plug before we go to commercial too. I'm going to plug Hotbox Batch. You can go over to bigflavorcode.com, get yourself some of this. It is ridiculous. The Scovilles are off the charts, but the taste is even better. And then go over to Viridian Global and get yourself some Hotbox merch. I have a little bit of merch on right now. You don't have to actually work out to wear the gear, folks. I'm rocking it out. Don't tell Troy or John I didn't work out today, but I look fresh. So
see, John's killing himself on like day 69 or something, and Troy's dripping with sweat after his COVID shot. And here's Scott with a bottle of hot sauce and his schmedium from Viridian.
You know what? I love it all. All the stuff from Viridian Global is fire. Nimble with Numbers will be over there soon enough. Shout out Will Harrison, all the great people over there. We're going to take a quick 3-minute commercial break. I don't like commercials, but you know what? We'll be back after that. Bo, tease us up. What are we going to talk about when we get back with Dave? Is there some pie possibilities?
Controversial food takes.
Oh my God.
We're gonna dig deep. We're gonna dig deep and see what Dave where his allegiances really lie.
We're gonna get canceled. Oh, and we have an appearance already. Watch out!
The better Kluge has arrived.
Dave, I'm not saying any of those things. I'm not saying
I will. I'm that guy. I will say whatever's on my mind.
I'm getting Kluge. So
I feel like I have to say right now, she always makes her own homemade whipped cream, and she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make a whipped cream pie." And I said, "Do you know how much money I have in audio and video and computer and sports memorabilia?" I was like, "You are not slapping me in the face with a whipped cream pie on a show tonight."
See, if you had that stuff insured, you wouldn't worry about it.
I don't have my stuff insured either, Bo, and I would be worrying about it. All right, this is great. All right, we'll be back, guys, in 3 minutes. All right, thanks.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Actually, we'll be interviewing as a team.
We're here to shit up.
Now back to Chalk Block with Bo and Scott. Move it.
Check it out, you're now rocking with the best.
Welcome back to Chalk Blocked, the world's sexiest DFS show. Right meow.
Right now.
Yep, we
now,
got Scotty Stacks, the mathematician. We are getting hashtag Kluge'd all night tonight. I've been getting Kluge'd since this afternoon when I was watching the Friday show with Steffi Smalls. I mean, getting Kluge'd is actually a lot of fun. It's exhilarating. It's a rush. I'd probably do it every day of the week and twice on Sunday if I could afford it. But yeah, this show that's going off the rails right now is brought to you by BigTimeFlavorCode.com. That is home of the world's most deliciously intense hot sauce condiment. Anything you put on food, it's the most deliciously intense condiment on planet Earth. Hot Box Gourmet Hot Sauce. It's also home to It's Taco Sizzin'. That's Cluckin' Hot, which is a Nashville hot seasoning, and as well as Smoke Shack Barbecue Rub, which is good enough to eat with a spoon. And yeah, if you guys go to BigTimeFlavorCode.com and enter the promo code CHALK21, you get 10% off your order. And that stands as long as you're a viewer of this show. That's the only way you're going to hear that promo code. So if you got this promo code in your head, you can write it down. You can put it in your phone notes. 10% off with the promo code CHALK21 on BigTimeFlavorCode.com. Scott, you have a bill to pay, don't you?
What? Me?
We're all... I mean, us four have occupied and creeped and lurked in the underdog best ball drafts for a couple weeks now, solid, where I think all four of us are in like 15 drafts already.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm gonna do a clean sweep on all of them. I don't know why you guys even try.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about, really, myself. You know, I'm not involved in any type of shenanigans. Okay, fine. You caught me. I have been tasked, by the good people at Underdog to spread the gospel. And the good news, the gospel of best ball season. It is right now is the time to get in on best ball season. There's so many people who are on Underdog. I think we had a draft yesterday, I think it was, that had at least three of us in it. I don't think Bo jumped in there in time, but look at that. I love that. My man Dave Chappelle in there. You got those underdog leagues, right? You got the baseball league, right? We were in there. It was Troy King was in there. I mean, everybody was there. I loved it. It was great. So please do check out Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Nimble if you're a new customer. One of my favorite games I play every single night is a game called Rivals, where you can go and you can pick head-to-head matchups between players, and they will give points, assists, rebounds, whatever it is. You parlay 5 picks, you get 20 max. The other day, I hit a 20 max. $1, $20. You can bet up to 100. You put $100 in, you get 5 right. You're getting $2,000. So
I got a bone to pick on those ones, though.
Yeah,
I was 2 strikeouts away from hitting 20x money, and the stinking Mets, pulled Jacob deGrom after the 6th inning with the 9 strikeouts with a over 10.5 prop, and I had hit all 4 of the other ones. And Jacob deGrom has 9 Ks through 6, and I'm cruising. He's averaging 14 Ks to start his last 4 before that, and the Mets pulled him. They pulled him.
Jerry, they pulled him. Yeah, I mean, it's not good for you, Bo, but it's good if you get over there on Underdog, and please do play. I know we'll be in there tomorrow playing and doing a best.
Don't take the over on the Mets.
No, always take. And if it's a Lindor, total bases 1.5. Always go
0.
under. Always go under the 1.5. If it's a half, go under the half on Lindor. That's all I have to say if you're playing over there. All right,
true.
Bo is teasing some spicy food take. I'm going to let Bo lead off as the food magician on this show. Homage to my man Bo, who created his own freaking sauce over here. That's my favorite sauce I've ever had in my whole life. So, Bo, what do you have on this food controversy?
So I think we're going to start a new tradition. Well, it's not new, but I want to ask every guest of Chalk Blocked if they have any controversial food takes. But for Dave here, it's a 2-part question. Do you have any controversial food takes? And as the spouse of a culinary expert, are you even allowed to have controversial food takes?
Yeah, absolutely. I can have my own food takes, and the one that is going to get me flamed because I'm sitting here with the Chicago Bears helmet behind me. Chicago Bears memorabilia everywhere. I love ketchup on my hot dog, and it is something that if you're in Chicago, I mean, like, they will literally pull your card from you and be like, "You're no longer a Chicagoan." I don't care. It just goes so well together. I love ketchup on a hot dog, and I don't care what anybody has to say about it. I'm doing it.
You hear that? The Bears disown Dave Kluge. He likes ketchup on his hot dog.
You know what, Dave? Dave, you know what? I'm going to say I love you because my daughter, who lives here in Maryland, she's not from any regional, she just has hot dogs. So she had a hot dog the other day. We're outside on the deck, and she had two. She couldn't finish both. She goes, Dad, you finish the other one. I said, great. She had some ketchup or dipping, and I said, listen, you're going to go places in life. People are going to say, how dare you put ketchup on that hot dog? And she goes, what? I go, I know. No, they will. They will. They'll look down on you. They'll be rude to you. I said, they'll say things. They'll mock you, whatever it is. I said, and it's because they think only mustard should go on. I said, this is what I believe. I believe ketchup, mustard, nacho cheese, salsa, hot sauce, onions, peppers, chili, whatever can go on that thing. Bacon, right. Put it on. Chive, whatever the hell you want to put on your hot dog, you put it on. And if you got a problem with that, I'm going to smack you in my face with my hot dog. You know what I'm saying? I didn't tell her that. I just said, this is what I like on mine. Anybody should be free to have their own hot dog. And she said, yes, Dad. Like, that's my soul, too. So, but I wanted to know, she's going to go places. I'm going to look down at her.
You're a lot nicer than I was to my daughter. My daughter loves ketchup on a hot dog, and I kicked her out of the family. She's 8 years old, and she's out of the family. So
I just want you to know that I'm going to be splicing that clip right there, and be prepared to see I'm going to slap you in the face with my hot dog all over Twitter for the next couple months.
Jordan will meme it. I think Jordan's already built a meme for it.
Anytime somebody disagrees with you, it's just going to be a video of Scott. I'm going to slap you in the face with my hot dog.
Yes. I love it. So my daughter is no longer part of the family because she likes ketchup on her hot dog. So I mean, it's a harsh world. She's gonna grow thick skin to survive. But
okay though.
Mustard, pickles, relish, whatever you want, just anything. Like in Chicago, they'll literally put the kitchen sink on a hot dog, but no ketchup. And I think
don't get me wrong. I love a Chicago style hot dog. Like I will eat a Chicago hot dog and I'll love it. But if I'm just at a barbecue and there's a bunch of condiments sitting out and I grab a hot dog, I'm putting ketchup on it and that's it. Like if they've got the full works, if they've got sports peppers and onions and relish and all that, I'll dress it up like a Chicago dog. But if my choices are just ketchup or just mustard, I'm going just ketchup.
That's a California thing too. It's weird. Like you go to any kind of cookout and it's ketchup, mustard, and relish. And I hate sweet relish. I think sweet relish should be illegal. Dill relish is delicious, but sweet relish is absolutely. I can't even think about it.
The biggest trick is the celery salt. The celery salt is what ties an entire Chicago hot dog together. If you don't have that celery salt on there, it's nothing.
And it's also the main ingredient in an Old Bay seasoning, so no surprise there. People love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good to talk educated food with you boys because I just like to eat it. I don't know much about all of the preparations for it. But I did tweet out, I think I tagged your wife in it, Dave. I said it is second best only to your wife's pies was my double layer nachos that I had before the show. I didn't even finish them. Some of them over here, but your wife's cooking. I showed my wife. So here's how you know it's cool. Is it when another guy goes, honey, wait, let me show you this. You're gonna love this.
Why can't you do this?
No. I said, this is on. She goes, this is on Twitter. Are you sure I want to see this? I see lots of stuff, and then afterwards I go, why did you show me that? And I go, no, this is baking, and this is incredible baking. I showed her all the work that your wife had done the other day, where she had shown what her day was like. And we were just so impressed because we had watched MasterChef Australia about 10 years ago. We got into appreciating culinary expertise. I watched your wife do the spinning wheel today. It was like therapy, man. It was cool. So just
the crazy Susan.
Before you get a pie in the eye, I do want to hear a little bit about the pie background and kind of where that got started. And you talked about eating the pies, but how do you support your wife in her culinary expertise and how she does that stuff?
So she's always been a phenomenal cook. Like that's, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And, the first time we ever hung out, like we were just grilling and cooking food. And I was like, wow, like she's an amazing cook. But the baking is something that came around pretty recently. Like when we first got together, she was amazing on the grill. And that's where she did a lot of her culinary stuff. But this was right before we moved out to Colorado. So it was fall of 2018. And we went on the most basic fall trip imaginable. We were in Chicago. We drove up to Door County, Wisconsin, which is, if you look at Wisconsin, it's got that tiny little peninsula that kind of shoots up into Lake Michigan. So we went up there, and it's known for apple picking. So, we put on our flannels, and like I said, the most basic trip possible, walking around with bushels, pulling apples from trees.
Pumpkin spice latte in your hand.
Pretty much.
You were wearing Ugg boots, weren't you? Dave was wearing Ugg boots, wasn't he?
The furry ones, yeah. Tom Brady, I saw him in that advertisement, and I just couldn't help myself. Went up there.
I can see it now, clear as day. I can see it.
But then we came home, and we just had like 3 baskets of apples, and I don't like eating apples. So we're like, what do we do with all these apples? So she decided to whip up a pie and just looked up whatever basic recipes she found online. And we were like, wow, this is pretty good. And then, apple pie turned into something else and into something else. And then it just kind of became this thing, and it spun out of control. And now I'm eating pies.
I've seen that movie.
The one where they go apple picking and start a pie business?
The apple pie turned into something else.
Oh, God.
Jordan might not have
they lived happily ever after.
Jordan, are you old enough to see that movie yet?
I'm not sure what we're talking about, but I'm scared.
Way.
All I know is this is made by our good friend Craig. And and I'm leaving it as my background for the rest of the show. I'm okay with it.
I love Craig.
I love Craig.
Craig.
You made it a gift, and I can't. Oh, so great.
I can't wait for Jordan's Ugg boots picture of Dave in the Uggs tomorrow.
Oh, dude, don't worry.
Oh my God.
I got a few of
Ugg
those.
boots.
No, so let me ask you a question. So she went from being a great, just grill and cook and putting things together to getting into baking. She's doing that professionally now, right? Is that where kind of so did she start her own company? Did she kind of just jump into something somebody else was doing? How did that go?
So she's got both. She started her own company first, and she's going to be in the farmers markets out in Colorado this year, which is awesome. So we live right in downtown Fort Collins, so it's walking distance from us. Obviously, we'll be driving because there's going to be a lot of stuff, but it's just a few blocks away from us. They've got this great weekly farmers market, and she'll be there almost every single weekend. And then she also works for a gluten-free baker in the area who does a lot of fulfillment for Whole Foods and some other places in here. But that's a very small business, and she's been working there for a while as well. But yeah, it's been really cool to see it grow. We definitely one of the first big breaks for us was going back home to Chicago. We went back for Thanksgiving. We just put she had her website up for a while, and we were doing some deliveries and stuff out here. And actually, even before the delivery in Chicago, COVID really actually kind of kicked this off for us a little bit because we were doing delivery, and when everything went to delivery, what we were doing was anytime somebody would purchase a pie, she'd match a pie and give it to a frontline worker. So whether it be a healthcare worker or a fireman, whatever it was. So, we were able to donate over 200 pies during that time. And she just absolutely crushed it there. And then we went back home this year for Thanksgiving, loaded up a truck with a cooler and drove from Fort Collins all the way back to Chicago. What we thought was going to be like 30 or 40 pies. She ended up selling over 200 pies just to friends and family back home in Chicago. So that was 3 straight days of, we would leave the kitchen, go lay down, take like an hour nap, pop back up, go back to the kitchen, just 3 straight days living in the kitchen. So she's a hard worker, but, even better than the hard work is just the amazing skill and the taste of these pies.
Yeah.
You were coughing up flour for a week after that, I bet.
Oh, man.
No joke.
Yeah. He had red eyes and white under his nose, and people were like,
Say hello to my little friend.
What's going on, man? He's like, nothing. I just can't sleep anymore.
I haven't slept in 3 days.
Oh, my God. No, well, I love hearing how you teamed up with your wife, collaborated, and helped her, just achieve. I mean, she's you're the sous chef. That's how it all kind of works, Yeah, exactly. So
grab that one, screen grab.
Yeah, but you gotta just love, you there working with your wife. My wife will love this because I already showed her the pictures of your wife, all the amazing stuff that she made. And I told her you were coming on the show tonight. So, Rose says hi to Emily and shout out my wife to your wife. So.
Well, actually, I forgot. I should even rewind a little bit before that. Right before everything happened with, COVID and the pandemic, that's actually when she got her big break, was selling to a restaurant. There was a restaurant that was buying her pies and selling them by the slice. And that happened for about 3 weeks before every restaurant suddenly shut down. And then that's when we kind of threw together the idea to start, delivering to frontline workers and doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no. And as my wife being a frontline worker, whenever she would get something like that from somebody, a meal or something special, it really meant a lot. Like it would just because at the end of the day, it's so hard. And so I love how you guys are looking out for the community and caring for folks. And I love her Scott Fish pie. Shout out Scott Fishbowl. Like she is just like every day putting out fire stuff, and she's funny too, like she's putting out, like when she falls on the floor drunk, stuff like that. Like I love it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, those were my amazing photography skills, by the way.
I wonder, that angle was just like somebody walking by and being like, is that person? Yeah, that person's on the ground. Yep.
Like,
okay.
Pretty accurate.
I recognize that pose from being a Chico State grad. I've seen a lot of that. It's usually not in the safety of your own house. It's usually on the sidewalk. But
this was an Airbnb in Arizona.
Yeah, it's pretty safe then.
Yeah, the last restaurant, the last nice hotel we went to a wedding in Arkansas, and it was a beautiful hotel. And my wife's going to kill me for telling the story because she's never been drunk in her whole life. And she went to a wedding and had the time of her life and just lived it up. And it was the best. She loved it, And at the end of the night, she was just like, I don't love it anymore. Oh my God, I don't love it all anymore. I was like, yeah, welcome to like just everybody else's experience with drinking. She was like, this is terrible. And I was like, yeah, no, it's going to get worse. So, your wife just seemed like a professional. Like she actually was able to tweet it out. You know what I mean? Like that, first of all, was impressive. You know what I mean? And so I love it. And then the gif of people going to ambulances. Jordan, did you put that out there of like someone's Dave's wife getting taken away in an ambulance or something?
Yeah.
She was retweeting that out there. I was like, oh man, you gotta love this, man. So.
I did the one where it's like a Dave right after snapping the picture. Come on, do something.
Oh my God.
That was a funny one. That was and that wasn't even so much the drinking. What that was, we were going to a wedding in Arizona, and leading up to this wedding, we said, hey, rather than just flying from Colorado to Arizona, let's go do a whole national park tour. So we spent it was 8 nights out of our car, not a single night in a hotel. No showers, just absolutely disgusting. And we did, Black Canyon to the Gunnison. We hit everything in Utah, Arches, Zion, Bryce Canyon. Then we went down to Sedona, the Grand Canyon. So we did an 8-night trip. And then we showed up that morning in Arizona, checked into the Airbnb, showered for the first time in almost a week, and then immediately went to this wedding. And it hit us both like a Mack truck as soon as we started having a couple drinks.
Yeah, so she's in the chat saying that it was completely the booze.
It's like that.
It might have been the booze too. It might have been the booze too.
Yeah, there you go. So that's kind of where I'm leading. Are you guys do a lot of mountain climbing? That's one little piece of information I dug up for Dave and Emily do a lot of mountain climbing, outdoorsy stuff. I'm like, you might not tell because I'm so wide, I barely fit in the screen here, but I love the outdoors. I love camping. We go off grid, my wife and I, and it's just everything you want to be. Even though I haven't climbed a mountain in about a decade, hence the build. Are you guys the camel pack and trekking poles type of couple where you're up there just all obnoxious in your name brand, like your gargoyle sunglasses and Patagonia, everything?
I think it depends on the trip that we're doing, but yeah, I definitely like a camelback just for the ease of, the atmosphere out here. It's thin, you get dehydrated quickly. So I've got a 3-liter camelback, and that's usually gone by the time I get back to the car, just pounding that thing. As for the trekking poles, no, that's not something that I do all the time. But when we're doing long trips, our honeymoon, we did almost a full month of climbing. Like we were gone for, I think it was 14 nights. Then we came back home, and that was supposed to be the end of our honeymoon. We spent 2 nights at home and just got the itch. We're like, what are we doing? Like, we don't have anything. Let's just go back out. So then we immediately hopped in the car and went back out for another week. During that time, I think we climbed 12 or 13 peaks. But when you're doing it every single day, where you're just waking up, packing everything in your bag and hiking, you almost need trekking poles. I mean, I'm no young spring chicken anymore. And when you're carrying around a 50-pound bag up and down mountains, it starts to hurt your knees a little bit. So you need those trekking poles. But if we're just going out for a quick day hike, we'll usually leave the trekking poles in the car.
All right. I have to ask. Sorry, buddy. I'm going to cut you off. I have to ask, though, given that parameter of your experience with all the wildlife and all things, what is the closest you guys have come to a bear, a mountain lion, a wolf, whatever it is, kind of in your ups and downs in the world?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of encounters. Luckily, nothing with a mountain lion, but there was a guy that was attacked by a mountain lion running on a trail that I run all the time. Like, 5 minutes from my house, some guy just recently was attacked by a mountain lion. But the craziest story I have was pretty recent. Emily and I, we've got this spot that we like. It's about a 45-minute drive, and then it's about a 2-hour hike up. And we like to get up there really early in the morning. It's not technically in Rocky Mountain National Park, but you kind of hike right up to the border of Rocky Mountain National Park. And there's just peaks and lakes and waterfalls all over. It's just stunning up there. And what we like to do is get up there really early, watch the sunrise come up. And there's a lot of moose that live up there that graze in this big alpine pasture. So we're walking up there, and the sun is just starting to come up. Like, it's, very, very early dawn. And we see what looks like a giant – I thought it was a Great Dane at first. I see this giant dog. Is exactly what I thought it was, walk across the path. And we just kind of stopped, and then I looked, and I was like, that's not a dog. And then a mama moose comes walking out. So we immediately just kind of back up. We realized that they were doing their thing, wanted to give them as much space as possible. So we go off trail about 100 feet, and we're just walking completely off trail in thick grass, and we come up on a sleeping bull moose. And we've got our dog with us at the time. So I see this moose, and my instinct kicks in, and I take off running. I run, about 10 bounds, and then I turn around, and Emily was frozen. And this moose started charging her, was coming straight at her, and kind of bluffed her. Right, it was one stride away from her, and then it just broke left and ran around her. But I thought I was about to watch Emily get trucked by a 1,000-pound moose.
Ooh.
That was
like
the most
9
terrifying.
Feet tall at the shoulder.
Yeah, and we've had a ton of run-ins with moose. There's a lot of moose out here, and they're pretty docile for the most part. We've had nights where we're sitting around a bonfire, and a moose just comes sauntering through our camp and just doesn't even pay us any noise or attention at all. But this one specific morning, and I think it was because there was a baby there, and we came up on him sleeping, he was pissed, and that was scary.
That is very scary. My encounter that I had was with a black bear. And it didn't want to have anything to do with us. And so we were on the elbow of a corner, and there was a couple in front of us. The black bear, we were in Glacier National Park, and it walked up, saw this Asian couple was there, and they start yelling, and we're like, "Oh, this is what is it?" Like we were excited. We run around, and it went behind us, and then I chased it because I had to get a picture, And so that's the ideal.
Not smart.
That's the ideal. Listen. If it was October, I would not have chased the black bear. But in June, and there was a bunch of old people up on the path where he was going. He wasn't going for me. There was fresh meat where he was headed, or she, and it wanted to get away from people. But I did get a picture of it. But then, my wife did chastise me like Bo's doing right now. So, but your story is much scarier because that is something that you couldn't control. You were running away from it. So I'm glad your wife is okay. Really excited your wife.
If you got time for one more, and this one isn't a wildlife story, but this is the scariest one we've ever had. This was we were actually climbing Mount Wilson, the one that's on the Coors Light can, and it's a big mountain. It's near Telluride, Colorado. It's over 14,000 feet tall, and it's a very technical climb. It's not just hiking up the top on your 2 feet. You're climbing your way to get up to the top of this mountain. So, I've got a little guide that's showing us where we're supposed to go. And we come up to this gully where it's a lot of loose rock and, it drops down about 10 feet. And it was pretty short. It was only about 5 feet across. And the guide that I'm looking at says that we need to hike down about 800 feet to the bottom of that gully, cross at the bottom, and then come all the way back up. I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this. So I find this one spot in the gully where I think this looks like something that I can kind of, maneuver my way through. There was a huge rock right in the middle of it. So I said, I'm going to jump off this rock and then jump across the gully. As soon as I hit that rock, it came loose out of the rocks and just completely went out from under me. So I had to grab onto the wall. As this rock is bouncing 800 feet, the rock hits the bottom and this giant boulder cracks completely in half as I am holding onto the wall with 800 feet of nothing below me. And that was the first time I ever froze. My wife, she was, supporting me, but I was crying like a baby. I thought that was it. I thought I was going to die right there on the side of the mountain. That was a scary one, but I ended up getting back and we finished the climb, but that was a scary moment.
What did the let's say the Sherpa or the guy, what did the guide say to you after that?
No. This was a paper guide that I had printed out on the internet. It was the two of us. It was
a very little guide.
There was nobody else on the mountain. It was the two of us, and that was it.
Okay. I thought somebody was there going, okay, we have to go down. And you were like, I'm just going to risk it, bro. And then he was like, I don't think you should do it. You're like, I just hold my beer, So this was
boulder. See the boulder? Totally fine.
Yeah. So did she pull you up or did you pull yourself up once you?
I was able to kind of get up and then I found a little area that had flattened out a little bit and I was able to get back across. But I mean, I was like laying on my belly pretty much, like crawling across. That was, of all the encounters that we've had out in the wilderness, off the grid, that was by far the scariest. We were just the hike to get to that spot was about 7 hours away from the car. No cell phone service, just out in the middle of nowhere. That was a scary one. We took a couple days off after that. We're like, all right, no climbing. Let's just hang out. We'll sit around a fire. We'll drink some beer. We'll go climb a mountain in a couple days. But let's relax on this trip for a couple days. We deserve it.
You totally do.
Paper bag ready.
Yeah, seriously. So before we go, because we're up against time, but we're almost done. We do have to ask you a question about fantasy football because that's important. That's kind of that's why Jordan's here at least. That's what the mathematician's here for, and to meme us with all his great memes and stuff. But you have been touting, as we say, as a tout, this zero wide receiver strategy. That's the kind of
Dave's my guy.
It's not as robust as zero running back where they'll let you know, like, no, after round 7, it's after round. You got to go to round 7. So I know that you're not doing that.
As the guy brainwashed by Denny Carter now.
Listen. No, I'm not brainwashed by anybody. This is what happened to me. I make fun of zero RB just to bother Denny. It's literally just a joke between me and Denny.
No. You bought the T-shirt. I know.
No, I didn't. So Will Harris from Viridian just sees me, and he just sees me going zero RB on there all the time. Just hashtag zero RB. I'll put a picket fence that's broken up. I'll be like, zero RB moved in next door, and so he just he just associates me with it. So then he gave me a zero RB strategy. And so then I don't know if you saw my funny video, but then I said I was going to go undercover as a zero RB guy. And then I did some, zero RB shtick. So, I want to hear from you, though.
Double agent would say.
I'm a double agent. Okay. I want to hear from you, though, about the zero wide receiver strategy or the kind of the avoidance of the early round wide receiver, and have you talk about what you see the value in that being.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'd like to point anyone that's listening to just check me out on Twitter. I've got it pinned on my tweet. Not only does it kind of talk about why I prefer to go this way, but it also gives some late round targets to look after, in those later rounds. But really, I mean, I don't think it's anything groundbreaking. We all watch football, and we know that the league is changing dramatically. It seemed like 10 years ago, every single team had a guy that was going to see the ball 250 times out of the backfield. Every team had a lead back. And now over the last few years, what we're seeing are more and more teams starting to take this running back by committee approach. And not every team is doing it, but there are a handful of guys out there that are still going to be workhorses. And I feel like the advantage that you can get by locking in one of those guys just gives you a leg up on the competition. If you can just lock in 2 or 3 running backs that you can start in week and week out and you don't have to worry about. And then on top of that, the wide receiver pool is deeper than ever. It's becoming a pass-heavy league. So if you can go through your first 3 rounds and, get one of those top-tier guys like Saquon, CMC, whatever in the first round, Then you drop into the second round, get a guy like Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, and then wait in the third round where you get a guy that's going to have a lot of volume and provide you a safe floor like Chris Carson or David Montgomery. I think that you're just set from there. And then the ways that I stray where I'm not just taking running backs right off the bat, I think that you also want to lock in a top tight end. George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. And there's chances that, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts, some of these other guys could certainly hit. But, I'd rather take the guys that I know are going to be a sure thing just because there is so much talent deep in the drafts. So if you look at it last year, 50% of the guys that finished as wide receiver ones were drafted after the 6th round. That's just mind-blowing to me. So last year it was Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I don't have everybody off the top of my head. They're in the article. But it's just you can get these guys in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round that you can plug in as a wide receiver one. So I would just rather take the positional scarcity early and then take the deep positions later on. It just makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, I like it. And I have his my man Dave's article up here at the Football Guys. Do go check them out. Do also subscribe to the Football Guys. They're one of the best subs around out there. They've got you over there. They got Troy over there. They've got, lots of great people over there. So please do check them out. I love it because last year I came out with something that I coined the wide receiver 2 theory. And what it looked at kind of was the same idea that you can get the value of a wide receiver 1 later on in the draft, particularly, if you target teams and you evaluate teams and how teams you think, okay, these are the wide receiver 1s on a team. There's a 40% turnover rate every year on that. So you can target some of those players that are going to be moving up and down the board. I've already signed up, guys. Sorry, just so you guys do know. But I love it because if you do go 0 RB and you go, DK Metcalf and you get all those guys now that are second round, say you go Tyreek Hill this year, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, right? That's how you start your draft. Then the positional scarcity, like you said, the 0 running back, they call it anti-fragility is what it is. You're really fragile there at running back. There's a lot of fragility. It ain't anti. It's heavy because you need to then pick the best running backs are going to break out, the ones that you are hoping. So then you just grab a bunch of them and you're just kind of dart throwing at all these backup running backs, which I don't think is the most effective way to do it myself. So I'm not a 0 RB mark, Bo. I'm a wide receiver theory guy who does like Dave's idea. We might have to marry our theories together and actually put, because it really is. It's a scarcity meets value meets opportunity for wide receivers that are undervalued by the community. And so it's really a misvaluation is what it is. A misvaluation of where players are going to finish. And so I love those edges. So I wanted to give you a chance to throw that out there because we're a kindred. We really are. We're on the same side. I don't want anyone to mistake me for 0.
I've done enough best ball drafts with you guys. I know that you guys are smashing your running backs early too. I mean, I feel like by midway through the second round, there are no running backs left when I'm doing a draft with you 3.
I am racing to get Karsten in front of you. Racing.
I am racing trying to get Lamar Jackson in front of this guy or AJ Brown. Me and Dave. There's anybody in redraft to definitely follow and start looking at his work. It's Dave. I've not met someone with so close to rankings of mine in my entire time, and it's scary. I don't like it. I don't want to be in any league of you. Underdog, keep us away from each other, please. Just put us at the end of the draft. We'll have some more.
Anytime you and I are next to each other. And it's funny, I was just talking about this on another show that I was on, but I feel like we're the usual suspects. Every time you hop in, it's us 4, Jeff Bell. There's all the same guys in there. And it's at the point now where I know
Sam Wagman.
I know your tendencies. I know your tendencies so well that I can I know who you're gonna pick before you even pick them. I'll see Jordan on the clock, and I'm I know exactly who Jordan's about to take, and then I can project rounds ahead of where we're actually at this point.
Dude, Jordan, I know you too, brother. I'll see. I'm oh, guess who he's going to pick come around the turn? Yep. They got them both. Got them both.
I'm 100% accurate on predicting a Scott Snipe. Scott snipes me every chance he gets, and I know exactly when he's going to do it.
I can look at the first round and see Bo is a spot ahead of me, and I go, well, that's it. I'm not getting Chris Carson.
Nope.
Nope. But who, as we go out on the underdog note, who's the favorite snipe that I always snipe you on? Because I think I have a guy that I do like to take from you, but who do you think it is?
It's probably Tony Pollard.
Yeah. Oh man, I take him like just a half round too early before it gets back to you, and I
get him earlier than everybody else too. Like when I'm in any kind of draft without you, I get Tony Pollard every time. But this fool knows how much I love Tony Pollard. He's in my freaking banner, for Christ's sake, and he just knows. He's like, Bo's going to try to get Tony Pollard around earlier than ADP, and I'm going to get him 2 rounds earlier.
It's gonna work out. I know it will. So, we have to go, but I gotta say, Dave, you are awesome. You have made this the world's sexiest DFS show for. So, thank you for joining us, Jordan. You are crushing it down there with the memes and the, man, he's just killing it. Bo, we'll talk. No, Bo's crushing it too. I have to say, I had to do that. I was just, thank you guys for joining us. Do go check Bo out over at BigTimeFlavorCode.com. I want you guys to make sure you buy his hot box. I want you to make sure you go buy Viridian Global merch. Go play on Underdog. Anything you want to plug, Dave? Anything you got going on that people can check out? Where can they find you as we get out of here?
Yeah, just tell everyone to follow me on Twitter now. It's too hard. If I try talking about all the shows and articles I'm writing, it ends up being a 20-minute monologue. So just follow me on Twitter at Dave Kluge, Kluge. You'll find all my stuff there.
I love it. Bo, last words, my friend.
Go to BigTimeFlavorCode.com. Follow me on Twitter, Bo_McBigTime. And I'm going to be starting to write more articles, so check out my Twitter for some exemplary vocabulary that will make you confused that about
my wife was
really
confused. Yeah, she was confused.
Yeah, it doesn't relate to everybody. It's okay.
I love it. It gets me excited. It reminds me of reading Joseph Heller. So, you know what I mean? It's just it's how it goes, a little dystopian.
I have a floral vocabulary.
You do, yeah. I do appreciate that. We do have guests coming up. Dave did mention, but who's coming up next? Is Howard Bender our next guest next week? Who is
Howard Bender from Fantasy Alarm? Yes.
Ooh, I love it, Howard Bender. And then this week, do check me out on this Thursday. The Fantasy Football Hot Stove podcast returns. I have a new co-host, Mr. Jamie Calendaro. Really excited. He is working over at FTA. I'm working over at FTA now as well. And our first guest is a banger. It is Mr. Field Yates himself. I'm going to have to do what Dave said. I'm going to have to reach out to like Stephon Bell and Matthew Berry and all those guys on the show and kind of get some in behind the scenes dirt on my man Field for the show. Hopefully that'll get me some good tidbits, as we say. So thank you for that. A little Sean Evans shout out as well. If you do like hot ones like myself and Mr. Dave Kluge, go check them out. And their wings are not as good as Bo's sauce. So just tell Sean Evans that. Let him know Bo's sauce needs to be on the show. I think that's it.
Dig deeper, Sean. Dig deeper. You'll find what you're looking for, Sean.
Oh, you will. You will. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week with Howard Bender, 11 o'clock on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Peace.
See ya.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.